friends, and welcome to the 15th episode of All New Snap Judgments. As always, I'm Roy Rogers, and joining me today is my friend and yours, the one and only, the god of trickery himself, Aaron Glazer. Glazer, my friend, how are you this afternoon, evening, whatever time it is, EST?
I'm confused. I only lie when I announce I'm going to lie, as we discussed before we started.
That, in and of itself, is a lie. So, on this absolutely beautiful evening here in our nation's capital, I would like to welcome our special guest, Glazer, who is joining us this week for this week's Snap Judgments.
We've got the man who is elbowing the Savage Yeti in the face to reclaim his crown. It is Chris Bootman. How you doing, Boot?
I am amazing. You guys need to fill in. That's what I'm here for. Glad to be back.
Roy?
How can our loyal listeners who don't know who you are at this point, if you've been listening to Snap Judgments, you should definitely know who Bootman is. But if for some reason, if you don't know who our OG special guest is, please, Bootman, let our loyal listeners and viewers know where to find you.
Yeah, you can find me mainly on YouTube. It's MSTZ Bootman. Same on Twitter or X, whatever. Same on Threads. I've been streaming a little bit more on Twitch. I think it's like Bootman_MSTZ. Just type in Bootman, you'll find me. I also host a podcast of my own, which Glazer came on not that long ago. It's the Snap on Ego podcast with my co-host Brad Saffer. So I'm all over the place.
Awesome. Glazer, who is our other special guest?
We've got the man with the most apt name in Marvel Snap because he is in every tournament fighting it out. He is, honestly, a master of the meta that everyone should be paying more attention to. It's Combat Marvel Snap. Hey, Combat, how you doing?
Hello, thanks for having me.
All right, Combat, if our loyal listeners and loyal viewers were to become your loyal viewers or loyal listeners or loyal parasocial social media followers, where can they find you on the various social media and streaming platforms?
Mostly on YouTube as Combat Snap or Twitter. I sometimes stream, but it's just Combat Snap on pretty much everything. I post on most platforms most days. But yeah, just Combat Snap on YouTube mostly.
Awesome. Well, before we dig into it, a really awesome episode, we have a fun game we're going to be doing today. We'll be talking about the new cards. But before we do that, I have to remind you, our loyal listeners and loyal viewers, how to engage with us on social media. Most importantly, second most importantly, actually, you know what? At this point, third most importantly, is our X/Twitter, whatever my email says, X, formerly known as Twitter or whatever those stupid messages are, is at SnapJudgeCast on, again, Elon Musk's social network. We are the official podcasting partner of Marvel Snap Zone, and you should definitely join their Discord, where Glazer is in there engaging with you, answering questions, doing all of that awesome Discord stuff. They are, again, the best large Discord in Marvel Snap. So, again, we are so proud to be the official podcasting partner of Marvel Snap Zone. If you would like to join a Discord, the link is in the description to this YouTube video or the description of the episode on your friendly neighborhood podcatcher. We are also available on email at snapjudgmentspodcast@gmail.com, where we will do our best to respond to you in a semi-timely manner if we can find new emails through the kick spam that Glazer signed us up for. We are also on everyone's favorite extinct animals social media network, Mastodon, at Snap Judgments with an E at tabletop.vip. But most importantly is our YouTube video. You've already found us on our podcasting partner Marvel Snap Zone's YouTube, but we have new videos every single weekday, some weekends, sometimes twice a day. Glazer, if our loyal listeners were to become our loyal viewers of our YouTube channel, what would they find right now?
2 decks every single weekday. We're still giving away 10 more Loki passes on Friday. We also we already have I don't know, 7 or 8 Alioth decks up. We'll have more of that. And hopefully we'll have a whole bunch of OTA. Is there an OTA this week? There should be an OTA this week. A whole bunch of OTA decks coming for you as soon as that drops.
All right. That is a great transition into our first talking point, which is this week's new card, Alioth, a Series 5 6K token card that is a 6 energy, 5 power card with the on reveal text, destroy all right, enemy cards played here this turn, including unrevealed cards. Combat, as a first timer here on Snap Judgments, what are your thoughts on this big boy from Kang's backstory / the Loki TV show?
I think it's going to be a fun card. As someone that's liked to play Galactus before, I feel like this is just going to slot perfectly in and be more annoying than the Spider-Man Galactus used to be. And I'm looking forward to playing it.
Awesome.
It's just looks a fun card.
Awesome. Boot?
Me, I've been dreading this card for, I don't know, weeks, months, whatever it is. It might have been my son, because he enjoys Galactus, who first brought it up to me, like, oh yeah, you just play this with Galactus. I'm like, oh no. And I think it was just today, for some reason, I thought this card destroyed all cards played there, but it's only enemy cards. I don't think you'll play too much unless you get a death down as well. But yeah, everybody complaining about Loki last week. I'm like, you guys chill. Just enjoy the Loki. Enjoy this gameplay, because every Galactus player is just drooling and like marking the days down until this card comes out. So yeah, I'm getting it tonight. I'm going to play it until I get bored of all the mirrors. And then I'm just going full counters to become everybody's worst nightmare.
Glazer?
It's going to be good in a lot of stuff, but both Ramp and Galactus are going to make it really frustrating. Like, I think it's just a regular Garden Variety great card. Like, it and Doctor Doom are the 2 6s you're most happy playing. But another, like, just in a deck, right? But if, like, are we going to start throwing Absorbing Man into Galactus? Maybe, right? Like, you go wave Galactus, Alioth. Oh, no, you can't do that. You can't do that, thank goodness, because he's 6 now. Sorry, he's still 5 in my head sometimes. The data mine had Alioth out of 5, and it still breaks my brain. So thankfully we can't do that. But, like, he's going to be intensely good in Galactus, and you just can wave on 4, Galactus on 5 perfectly fine. And he's going to be really great. Like, he's going to be really great in Ramp if you can only play 1 card. Like, I can pretty easily, and Lockdown, I guess, pretty easily manage to make it 1 place that you just have to play, and then Alioth wins the game. Because, like, especially if you have priority, he's not letting any on reveals go off. He's going to be excellent. And I think his real power right now is that Galactus eats the face off Loki decks. Absolutely destroys them. And everyone's like, Loki is so broken. It's like, well, maybe. But, like, and maybe, like, getting their Alioth can stop Galactus, right? Like, so there's that, if you Loki early enough. But short of that, like, Galactus just beats the crap out of Loki. You're going to have a lot of trouble.
But some of the Loki players are wising up, and they're starting to run some Cosmos. Like, I think we're going to see a lot of that little doggo running around, just tossing it down on the empty lane, and so I don't know. We'll see how. I think this card will be most playable the first 24 hours before people just start trying to counter it. I did a poll earlier, had like it might be up to like 2,000 votes, and like I think like 80 or 90% of people said they're getting that card tonight too. So.
My working theory is cards are generally better a month to 2 months after they release, if they're going to be good, because like the meta stops solving for them, and if the meta stops solving for them, they get great.
Yeah, for sure.
Further Alioth thoughts? Combat? Boot?
Combat?
I think he could be decent in a Lockdown deck as well. Getting a Professor X down and then just winning another lane. go with like early tempo, put it in like that's the silky smooth type package or something, and then lock down a lane, and then just win it with him on turn 6. Or a Thanos. I think he was going to fit well into a
smooth
Thanos
wave.
deck. You cheat out and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well, what about Roy? Roy, what are your thoughts on this purple cloud coming at us?
It's hard to disagree with any of the things that have been said here. Sort of, I have more of a question. Like, I think if there's sort of a, to me, bad thing that this card could do is I think right now the game is in a place where the early turns are pretty vital. Like, and that lower cost cards are very good. And I actually think this card has the weird thing of putting even more pressure on making sure you're established and not trying to make big cool plays on the last turn, because Alioth really punishes someone who is trying to do something on turn 6 and turn 7 that isn't like, that is sort of vulnerable to disruption. And I really don't know if that's really what we want Marvel Snap to be moving towards. I think like right now, like they kind of missed, I think, on the top end cards. And I would rather like to see like cool things to do at 6, like cool, powerful things to do at 6 that can maybe flip a game that your opponent was able to have a good start, versus like this, which is really, I think, at the end of the day, more about sort of locking a game down, whether it's Galactus or whether it's, in a literal lockdown deck or in a ramp deck. And I don't know if that's a play pattern I'm super interested to see more of in Marvel Snap. Definitely not, I think, in Thanos or Lockdown. Like, those are decks that I really don't think need more tools right now. And I'd rather see way more interesting and creative and sort of big things to see at 6 than sort of this weird kind of answer card, kind of like linear card. I don't know. It's not a design space I'm super interested in right now, although I do think breathing some life back into Galactus is pretty good. I know that's a controversial take, but Galactus does punish some decks that people don't like Loki. But like, is the poison as bad as the disease? The cure as bad as the disease that we're going for. So anyway, that's my take on this. Any further thoughts before we jump into Glazer's game?
Well, just real quick, like we spent months of people like threatening to quit the game over Galactus, right? They finally got him to like a reasonable place. Now when Galactus comes out, it's not as often. It has been the last week because I think people are prepping for this. But like, I don't know. Like, do you think Second Dinner is going to be dealing with backlash because like Galactus's play rate is about to jump up to like 50%?
I don't think so.
I can see it.
I personally think the Loki hate has gotten so insanely toxic that Second Dinner's got to push through that before Galactus can even do it. I think like my hot take for today is like people lost it about Loki. I think very fast. I think the fastest of almost any new card in a way that seems a little strange to me.
It's
at
bonkers.
The beginning of the month with the season pass card. I mean, look, I get like everybody has allowed to have their own feelings about cards. That's totally okay. Everyone, myself on this show, Glazer on this show, all of our guests have all had deranged takes, and we all have sort of weird feelings about cards. Totally legitimate to feel what you feel. I just think the overall just absolute rejection of Loki as sort of like a healthy card immediately, I think is really strange. And to me, at least, is like an overreaction. And that, I think Second Dinner's kind of got to power through that. But I think this card is, I think once Loki is fixed, whether that's by Mobius or by Second Dinner fixing the card, then people start complaining about Alioth. But Combat, you got any thoughts about this?
Yeah, I agree. Like the Loki situation probably stops Galactus as well, because you're putting out that much early pressure down if you're getting your Loki out early that it's going to be hard to get a Galactus in a lane anyways. So like a Loki problem has to be solved first.
They like tell you where they're putting their power pretty clearly. Like it just hasn't been. I've been like I just hit Infinite with Loki Galactus, right? Like if I couldn't get Galactus off, I just dropped Loki and figured I'd play their deck. But like Galactus was eating Loki for lunch. Like there's just like I played Collector here, and all I've got is 3 and 4 power shit for the next couple turns, right? So like I'm just okay, great. Well, you drop that there and that there, so Galactus, right? Or like throw a Daredevil in there. They're not able to pressure all 3 lanes. I mean, Jeff helps, but Jeff is great. All right.
Any other? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I'm just gonna say those are all my thoughts. It'll be
It's
interesting.
definitely going to be an interesting week. We have 2 weeks before Mobius, right? There's RR is between Ravona is between us and Mobius, right? So lots of it's going to be an interesting month, I think, for Marvel Snap. But speaking of interesting things, though, let's jump into the game Glazer has designed for us today. Glazer, what is this game that we are going to be playing today?
This is the Dirty Dozen. I was going to call it the Nerfy Dozen, and that felt too on the nose for me. So it's the Dirty Dozen. We are going to pick, I picked 12 cards. We're going to go over each of them. We're going to choose Nerf It and how is going to be specific, like power up, power down. Is this going to be an OTA or a redesign? Are we like actually changing something about the way it works? We're going to buff it and how. And again, OTA or redesign. And finally, leave it the hell alone and why. This card is fine. Please stop bothering it. You are frothing at the mouth for no reason. All good?
So just to follow through, we each are staking out one of these positions about the card.
Yeah, we're going to discuss and try and like
three.
agree for all 12. And we're not going to agree, right? We're going to all disagree and then get angry at each other and move on. That's the hope anyway.
All right. Well, let's start with the big boy himself, the card we just mentioned. The most exciting card right now, Loki. For those of you, again, if you've been on Marvel Snap Discourse, you will definitely know. But he's a 3 cost, 5 power, Series 5, current Season Pass card on reveal. Replace your hand with cards from your opponent's starting deck. All right. Combat, how would you change this card up?
I would make it a 4 cost and make it so you can't copy Loki, and I'd start with that. I'd take it easy on it because I think it's a fun card. I just make sure you can't get another copy of Loki and make him a 4 and see where it goes. Probably need more tweaks than that, but I think that's a good starting spot. I don't want him to be dead.
Boop.
Yeah, no, that's not a bad idea. I hadn't thought of like make it so you can't copy it. Like, I don't know. Like Brad and I, we did an emergency episode telling everybody to chill the hell out about Loki. Like they're fun. Like it's fun, right? Like the mirror matches, they just get silly. I don't get upset. They just get silly. Like, oh, I got my collector now. I got Loki. Did I copy your collector and your Loki? And then like, can I keep doing it? Get like 3 collectors down and multiple Lokis? Like it's just silly. Like I was thinking like sometimes, because I'm always putting myself in second dinner shoes, I would do like an OTA. I don't know if I would do a redesign. I would kick this down to a 3-4 or 3-3, like maybe. Like that's what I would do. Like 3-5 is like an insane stat line. Like I think just like history's shown, you know, just the way we've seen like with Enchantress or even like the 50 times they've nerfed Rock Slide. Like when the power is like higher than others and it does something very useful, they usually like tone it down. So like I wouldn't be surprised if they took 1 or 2 points just off the power alone, because like I'm a turn 6 Loki player where I'll drop like Loki and Coulson, you know what I mean? And that's like 9 power plus everything you're doing to collect it, you know? But I should probably play that Loki sooner anyways.
It's so fun. You just sit there going,
Dude, I had somebody, I was like, it was the first like day or two Loki came out, and I had no idea what a person was doing. And then all of a sudden, they just Loki'd on Wong and just destroyed my life. Like, I saw him just dump like 10 cards at the end. I'm like, what are you doing? But all their cards from me were like free, you know?
So nuts. I think a combination of the two. I don't want Loki to be 4. I really, really like that he's a 3. I think a 3-4 where he can't copy himself. I think he has to stop copying himself. That's the big change that I'm all about. I don't want him to be able to copy himself. I don't think basically any card should be able to create itself unless that's its specific ability. I'd like that to just be written in. I think a 3-4 can't copy himself basically solves it. But I also don't think we've hit the real problem with Loki, which is like, I realized when I put him in a Galactus deck, and like I was going to wait for the podcast to say this, but Safety wrote it in an article, so I just decided to tweet it. Loki should just go in a lot of decks. You should either go, like, if you're running America, you should just be like, I'm going to throw a Loki and a Collector in here. It's like, what's your real downside, right? Like, oh shit, my deck is completely countered by my opponent and I'm dead. Turn 3, I'll just play your cards, thanks. But cheaper, right? Like Loki.
Yeah.
I messed around with like a Loki and a Shuri Red Skull. That's a safety special. Safety and a Loki and a Galactus. Like if you ran a just good stuff build with Loki in it, like what are you losing by like those 2 cards that are your swing cards anyway? Like, oh, I might need a Shang-Chi. Huh. Well, I can't beat you if I don't see Shang-Chi. Turn 5, I'm gonna drop a Loki. Do you run Shang-Chi? Hey, shit, guess what? I win. Like, I think like that's when Loki is gonna get like oppressive, when people realize that like Loki decks are gonna be tier 1-ish, but Loki as just a filler card is gonna be phenomenal.
I think for me, I think lowering the power is probably the most the sensible thing to do, I guess, with this card. I think Loki as a 3/3 might even be playable if you don't change the that things can cost 0 with Loki. I think that's the big thing. I think you could keep Loki almost the same if things can't cost 0 with him. And so, like, if they want to sort of like keep the heart of this card where it is, I think if you lock it at minimum 1, I think you can basically keep Loki as is, and even multiple Lokis. I think that the card is much sort of more balanced, but multiple Lokis with 0 cost cards and things having -2 and like and plus the Quinjet, and the fact that this can override a Quinjet is all kinds of Quinjet's minimum 1, by the way, just to be clear, is just that's kind of the busted part to me, at least, watching a lot of people play with this. So for me, that's where I would target if I really wanted to come for this card. But I think probably most likely this will go down to a 3 or a 4 power, and then maybe they'll make it so it can't copy other Lokis. But I have a feeling they'll have to reprogram the card to do that. And so if it is a change, I wouldn't even expect it in the first patch that touches Loki. Excuse me. All right. The second step is buff.
Oh, no, we don't have to go through all of them. We don't have to go through all of them. We're just picking which one we would do. We're not.
Okay.
Does anyone want to buff Loki?
That's what I asked you, Glazer.
I misunderstood
that's
you.
That's what I asked you, Glazer. And you
I'm often wrong. Okay, cool. It's fine.
One.
I thought Loki was going to be mid.
Okay, cool. So we're all on something has to be nerfed with Loki. Okay, cool. All right. So card number 2 is the Phoenix Force, which is currently a 4-cost, 5-power, Series 5, 6K token card that has on reveal, revive one of your destroyed cards and merge with it. That card can move each turn. All right, Boot, buff, nerf, keep the same. Where are you?
I think Phoenix Force is fine. I think this card is fine. Maybe like bump it up to a 4/6, but I've been on a kick for the last couple weeks, and I posted a video, had my Discord help me out a bit. Like I had this like little epiphany. Like I just think we're all playing Phoenix Force wrong. Right? Like Phoenix Force is just an amazing surprise card. Like the deck I made a video about, like you purposely blow up your own Atuma, right? You revive it with Phoenix Force under armor. You throw down a null, like you have a 15 power Phoenix Force. You have a null that just has that extra 10 power with some other stuff. Like just there's so many possibilities with this card. Like it's just been so like bottom tier forever. And I'm just like, wait a second, you could do some surprising things, right? Like if you don't have priority and toss down something huge on like turn 4 or 5, and then you let them kill it and you throw down a Phoenix Force on 6 and just bring it back. You know what I mean? There are very surprising things, but like as with like just so many new cards, we all just kind of like, oh, let's see how it goes already in this established deck, And so anybody listening, I encourage you to experiment. I think this card can be really good. That's all right.
So Boots stay the same. Combat. Where do you think?
I agree. I think it's a pretty decent card. I had a lot of fun with it when you made it the 4/5 with Negasonic, just blowing stuff up and then bringing it back. And it was doing a lot of work. One of the best decks I've played with in a while. And I have to think the card's decent. I just don't think it's found its home yet. And when it does, it'll be good. I think the problem is It's buggy as well, right? With the multiple man not getting to copy the clones and stuff. Once you fix that, I think you'll see a lot more play. Whether that'll be the home for it or not, we'll have to see. But yeah, I think it's a decent spot right now.
That's one of the two things I want for a buff, for it to work properly with multiple men. The other is I want it to keep its cost. I don't want it to take the cost of the thing it revives.
Yeah, like freaking Human Torch. Like, come on.
Yeah, I think that would be a huge buff, right? Like, people would play it. Yeah. I just got an Infinity Border, whatever. We need a better way to say that than I got an Infinity Border. I won Infinity with the Phoenix Force deck.
You completed an Infinity run, I believe would be the...
Sure. So I did that bullshit with Phoenix Force. And, like, I think it's really strong. I think that, like, if you want people to play it, it can't, like, one of the main ways to play it can't just be, like, Killmonger fodder. That's not fun. You still have Shang, right? Like, it's not like it's auto-safe if you make it 4 and not 1. And it needs to work properly with multiple man. It's been 3 months. Like, it's ridiculous. Make it work with multiple man. It's a season pass card. It's not like a card no one has, right? This isn't the original Snowbird. Snowguard, whatever. Fix it.
I imagine that's a coding nightmare. I mean, similar to, like, Captain Marvel being buggy as hell. These cards with, like, weird niche interactions built into them always behave weird in this game. And the problem, that was also a problem for early Hearthstone, too. So I think it might be a pen bro joint problem. But for me, Phoenix Force, I'm on the slight buff as well. I think this card, like, is really cool. And, like, what it asks of you is, like, a really fun puzzle. But I think the cost is just a little too high for the payoff right now, right? Like, running some destroy cards to destroy maybe one thing, like, yeah, that's cool, but, you know, it's not, like, that's a little inefficient. And then if you add too much destroy, your Phoenix Force becomes, like, less consistent. And, like, I just wish there was something. It could be making it default 6 power. It could be lowering it to a 3. Like, there's, like lots of like sweet tricks that you, like, and numbers that you could slightly tweak. Like, I think that, like, Phoenix Force is almost there, but I think it just needs to be a little bit more, that its fail cases are still fun, that we're willing to suffer the deck building costs of running a small destroy package that, if you don't draw your Phoenix Force, really does nothing for you.
Combat, what do you think of letting it move if it doesn't revive something?
Yeah. And then you don't have to destroy something. That's just a dancing 4/5. You could probably play Hulkbuster and stuff on it, right? And then you just get a big vision, pretty much, right? Instead of playing on 5. Yeah, like, being able to move out reviving something could be a decent buff.
Yeah, that's a very cool thing. Again, that gives you a fail case, right? Mm-hmm. That if sort of like Vision at home is like a good option here. Maybe Vision getting a slight buff too, to sort of like separate him a little bit from Phoenix Force could be, you know, like a paired thing. So
+1 cost and then +3 power, I think, is a reasonable, you know what I mean?
Yep. Wait, is Vision a 5 or a 7 or 8?
5/8.
He's an 8.
He was a 7. They bumped him.
He's 5/8. He's an 8. Okay. For some reason in my brain he's a 7.
Yeah, he was. It's just you got to mentally update because it's not a card you see a whole ton. Although I guess he was in that Lambie thing for a little bit.
All right. Let's get on to card number 3, which is everyone's favorite card. Oh my God. It feels like right when we were talking about Leech for so long in this show, I think we went on and on. The first time Bootman was on the show about Leech. That's how long we've been talking about this. So, in honor of Bootman's first appearance, which I'm pretty sure was in the Leech meta, buff, nerf, keep the same. What do you think, Boot?
I think he's fine. Like, I've seen so many people complaining about him recently with the the Hulk deck coming back and like people tossing Leech in there, and I'm just like, whatever, like, it's fine. I don't see it enough to really get annoyed by it. I don't think many of my decks get too hampered by what Leech is doing. I think the way they nerfed him is fine. I will say the first time I went up against Leech after the nerf, I forgot that he wasn't on reveal. So, like, I stayed in a game I shouldn't have because they played it behind, like, a Cosmo. And I'm like, oh, you idiot. Right? Like, lost 8 cubes. But, yeah, I think he's fine. Like, when I see people complaining about Leech now, it's one of those things where, like, people are like, no, I should always be able to play the decks I want to, and nothing should be able to stop it. Absolutely nothing. Just nerf this card. It's like, no, I think he's fine. So, that's where I'm at.
Combat.
I think he deserves a buff.
Ooh, spice.
I'm gonna put it out there. I like
Spicy.
the change to the effect. Well, I like how they changed his effect. I think he just needs a little bit more power. It feels bad to play a 5/3. It just I do like the effect not being on reveal, so it just triggers that turn 6. Because that old Leech I hated that. I played it a lot, but I hated it. So maybe just put it up to like a 5/5 or a 5/7. Yeah, give you some power.
4/1 only works for the next turn. Also,
That's kind of like what we were talking about, like, originally, though, right? Like, that was one of the ideas floating around. Make it so it's like just the next turn or something.
You shut off the opponent's turn 4 or turn 5, and there's decks you would want. There's decks you still want to turn off their turn 5, right? If he's a 4, he works with Zabu, and now he has real value, right? Like, I think that there's something there for that. Or 4/2, but in that general vicinity of, like, cheaper and worse, but still, like, but only for one turn. I think so. What really annoys me is the play on turn 5 and then your shit doesn't do anything on 6 or 7. Like, because the idea of him being a 5 is that he's gonna I work at the end of whatever, you know what I mean. He works at the start of turn 6 is that he only works for one turn, and that he doesn't, I think, sort of frustrates. Also, I have no idea if Loki's a Series 1 or Series 2 card. I pit Series 2 here because he is pure number 2. He is dookie.
Yeah. I like that. I think what you're talking about, I think that adds like a whole new layer of like strategy too, right? Like, even though I have this love-hate relationship with DC Dual Force, there's a card in there that makes it so you don't get one of your like energy or resources for the next turn. You don't get one of them, and it's a nightmare, right? So like if you could just like throw Leech down on like an earlier turn and just kind of shut them down for one turn, like I think that adds like just a very interesting strategy to the game.
I think Leech, if you want to keep the heart of the card, which is like who Leech is as a character, and I think that this like ability, we'll get to Galactus, spoiler alert, who's going to be on this, like there's only so many things a character called Leech can do, and I think that they landed on a pretty like thematic resonant thing of like what Leech would do. I think you want to make this effect as predictable as possible. I think Glazer's suggested nerf is cool, and Boot's right that it adds strategy, but I think it makes it a lot less predictable. And like something that like you like here, if you read your opponent having a Leech on 5 or earlier, if you want to play Leech earlier, which seems a bit of a waste with his current text, but whatever. Like you can sculpt the game plan, but just like having your opponent doing something like this as a surprise to you out of nowhere, I think leans on the more unfun aspects of this ability, because this ability always teeters on unfun. And as the complaints that people had when Leech was at the top of the meta, like when this effect is one of the best things you can do, people don't enjoy it. So I think finding it as like a sweet spot as like a meta escape valve, a thematic card, and something that isn't like too good, I think this is basically where it needs to be to do that, at least for me. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with the 4/1 whenever you want suggestion. I just think it might end up being too strong for this effect.
Fair enough. For combat, sorry.
Other thoughts?
The 4/1, the problem is you follow it with Absorbing Man, right? And you've
no, not. I guess it'd have to be an unrevealed turn, right? It could just be at the start of your next turn, at the start of the next turn.
I mean, I could see it staying as 5 and being the next turn as well, so you can deal with limbo stuff as well.
All right, let's move on from my least favorite card in Snap to what used to be my least favorite card in Snap until I hit Infinite with it yesterday.
Galactus, a Series 5 big bad 6/7. What? All right, on reveal, if you're winning this location and this is your only card here, destroy all other locations. Combat. The big man himself, Galacti Boy. Nerf, buff, or keep the same?
I think he's fine where he is, but I'd buff him. I'd put him up to a 6-8. I definitely wouldn't nerf him. He's kind of good where he is. I think the stats show that he's in a decent spot. I think I've seen Glenn post out the other day that Galactus is kind of where they want him with cube wise and stuff. So I think he's in a good spot. But I'd maybe give him one extra power and see. But I do enjoy some Galactus.
Yeah, I think he's fine where he is. Ever since the change, like I don't mind it as much. It's been annoying me like leading up to Alioth because like people are just playing him. But yeah, like I know what Combat's talking about. We saw Glenn say that. Like, oh god, tweets like that just annoy me. The person who tweeted at Glenn and said Galactus is literally unplayable. Right. And I'm like, what is just wrong with people? Like my son hit Infinite with Galactus last season. He hit Infinite for his first time ever with a Galactus deck last month, after the change and everything. But yeah, I think Galactus is fine where it's at, but I wish you would ask me this question like
that's why
in
it's here.
3 days.
You figured it out.
Like,
it's a trap. I'm trapping you both.
I want to see how this thing plays with Alioth because like I always try to respect Galactus players, but just like not all Marvel Snap players who play Galactus are annoying, but like all annoying Marvel Snap players play Galactus. You know what I mean? So like there is just a certain group of people where they're going to be emote spamming, doing all their things. But yeah, Galactus, I like having Galactus as a big bad just because you get that like true feeling of like just like pure joy when you shut it down, right? When you just read it coming out, like Glazer, you watched my video today. Remember when I played that wannabe Galactus deck and they were trying to do some shit? They didn't even end up trying to play Galactus, but just everything was beautiful. It was like
so what's
symphony.
really fun is people sort of forgot how to play Galactus. They're just like, I have Galactus, I'm gonna win. And it's like, dude, I can like when you played that Wolverine behind an armor instead of somewhere else, you sort of told me you had Galactus. Like I got that was Galactus. I stayed in because I could figure out that like that's a Galactus and I can beat it. Like, what are you thinking? Whatever. This is a trap. I don't believe that Alioth breaks Galactus necessarily. Loki has taught me that I think we're bad at this. I've been saying, and like non-content creators like to make fun of us, be like, you guys think you're so smart and you get shit wrong. It's like, dude, we talk about everything all the time. Sometimes if you talk a lot, you're wrong. It's one of the things I tell new teachers. It's almost impossible to talk for a living and not say dumb shit sometimes. It's gonna happen. Like, try not to make it terrible, right? But like, if you're talking all the time, sometimes your opinions are gonna be wrong. If you've got a lot of opinions, you're wrong about some of them. That's life.
What's funny is there's also the inverse, right? People who are wrong all the time, sometimes they get a couple things right. You know what I mean?
It's like, no doubt.
The worst person you know is correct about this thing. The onion image.
Exactly.
So, but like,
yeah.
So this is a trap because I don't believe we have any idea whether Galactus and Alioth is broken or amazing. But I feel like if we're going to talk about cards that we can nerf or buff or leave alone, Galactus has to be one.
And I think they landed at a good place. I'm with Boot and Combat here. And, well, Combat's a little bit on the buff side. But, like, Galactus is, I think, thematically one of the best design cards in the game, right? Like, when you play this card has always felt like Galactus. When it's played against you, it felt like this is what Galactus does in the comics, right? He eats the worlds, does some unfair things, and, like, you want to keep that effect. Not only, and it also has a sweet animation. Like, there's so much about this card you just want to keep the core of it. And I think where they landed, that you have to work for it a little bit more than you did in the OG Galactus, and that it's a little bit like harder to do some of the Galactus-y bullshit stuff, although Alioth may bring some of that back in, I think is like really good. And I think it is good to have powerful ways to play the game differently. There are people, like such as myself, who enjoy playing card games differently than they are on the tin, and Galactus offers you that. And I think you want to have that experience available to players and make it good, but not great. And I think that's what they did with Galactus. Now, of course, that could change at any moment, but where he is right now, I think, is where he should be.
However, if Galactus is broken, we're going to make a short of Combat saying that Galactus should be buffed and post it everywhere. It's what we're doing this for.
Yeah. Everywhere. I'll post it to my channel too.
We got evidence. We have receipts, as the children would say. All right, moving forward, on to card number 5. All right, Captain America. 3 for 3. Congratulations to Chris Evans, by the way, who just got married in real life. He's a 3 for 3. All right, Series 1, ongoing. Your other cards at this location have +1 power. All right, combat, buff, nerf, or stay the same.
Oh, this is an easy buff. This card needs a buff. A big buff. Like it sucks that he's not playable, right? He's just big Avenger, and he's probably one of the few Avengers that, like, if you go by the films anyways, that you just don't play, right? It just needs a buff. And I kind of changed its ongoing to give 1 extra power for each card. So, like, if you had 1 card there, +1, 2, +2. But I don't know how they do that. Just make it so the more cards there, the bigger his ongoing being.
Yeah. It's hard just because, like, I understand where Second Dinner is coming from, where they have these, like, very vanilla cards, but, like, it's hard to justify this card not getting buffed ever since, High Evolutionary coming out, and we got buffs like Cyclops and stuff like that, and like the Hulk, right? Like the Hulk is such a more playable card now, and kind of like Combat was saying, like, this is like the most unplayable just Avengers card, which is like the most popular part of like the MCU, right? So like, yeah, I just don't know how to buff. But yeah, they even buffed Hawkeye. Recently.
They buffed them all. Just left Captain America. Yeah.
Okay, Black Widow. Black Widow hasn't seen a buff yet.
Black Widow is good, and no one plays her.
I want her as a 2/2. No, we were talking about this on our podcast. We were thinking, I won't make this about Black Widow, but we're tossing around some ideas. Like, I don't know how many would be feasible, but just like making the Widow's bite like a -1.
No,
something
Ravonna
like that
comes out next week. Can you stop making people make her worse before Ravonna comes out? When I can spend turn 4 playing both her and Rockslide or her and Darkhawk.
Oh god.
Yeah, no, Black Widow's been messing me up recently. She's been messing me up. People putting in Rockslide decks. Anyways, buff Captain America. Maybe like Combat said, like make it scaling, something like that. It's just with a card like this, and this is why I trust the devs more than like me. Like I could just see this card like spiraling out to become like one of the best cards. You know what I mean? Because like even adding +2 power to every card there, like that's a decent amount. Like it seems like so. Yeah. I don't know, but they need to do something. And so, yeah, it might be a regular OTA or it might be like a redesign. I don't know.
Doesn't it just see a lot of play and is a really good card if it's a 3/5?
Like that.
Right? Like,
hey,
like
maybe that does it. Yeah,
so a few weeks ago,
right?
I don't know, time has lost all meaning. Before the school year started, back in the before times, I was listening to Alex and Cozy's cast, and they were like throwing out these like crazy redesigns for Captain America. And as they're like going over this wild shit, I'm just like, but what if he had 5 power and like had the exact same ability? I'd play him in a shit ton of decks. Like now he's fundamentally a 3/8, which is like top of the line power, and he's Captain America. He probably should be top of the line, except now you also need to really commit to that lane. And like there's still downside to having to commit to his lane. Like, I think that's just really good, and I don't get why, like, we need to be fancy, because, like, a 3/5 +1 to each other is great, and you want Captain America to be great, but it's also not without downside. It's not unbalanced.
What if they reworked him, you put him down, and then a shield comes out of the card and it bounces off of every opponent card and they scatter all over the place?
It seems a bit much.
That'd be a sick animation, though.
Yeah, I mean, the 3-5 is probably... I think that's more leaning towards what we'd get if they were to buff him, I think. But I don't know. It definitely is a buff. I'd like something more than a 3-5. It's just... I feel like it's just boring. You know? I like fun cards, cool cards, and just the 3-5... He definitely goes in a lot of decks, right? Any kind of deck where you're flooding the board, he definitely goes in.
Yeah.
You imagine him as a 3-5 in that brood absorbing meta we just came from. No, that would be disgusting.
Yeah, and he'll be showing up in Surfer decks too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So then he goes from being like a potentially 3-8 to like 3-10.
Yeah, 3-5 might be a little bit much.
He's Captain America. Make him a little bit much.
Well, hey, let's try it. Yeah, let's try it, and then they could tune him down later.
Yeah. I guess my hot take, which is weird to say, is that Captain America should stay the same. Like, I think there needs to be Series 1 cards that are clean, straightforward, and have compelling characters. Like, if when you start Marvel Snap and you get your Series 1 cards, and they're all nobodies that you're like, what, like, why? No, there has to be exciting Avengers, and someone's going to draw the short straw. And in Marvel Snap, it's Captain America. He is like a training card. And his design is clean. Like, it does feel like Captain America, right? He's a leader. He makes other people more powerful. And I understand, like, people want to play Captain America. He needs to be stronger. And, like, the 3-5 buff is fine, like, as far as it goes. But I think there needs to be clean introductory Series 1 cards. And I think this is a really good one. Like, it is an easy card to understand, has an easy power level, and teaches you things about Marvel Snap. And it's fun to play Captain America early. Like, this is one of your first cards. You play Cap, you win a lane. You're like, that feels good. I want to keep playing Snap, right? If it's all snow guards and like people you don't even know are the first characters that you get, you're not going to want to stay. This is why they always in these kind of games give you, like a handful of the characters that you want right to start off with. And Cap just drew the short straw. They can't all be Iron Man and that are Series 1 cards that are playable in the full metagame. Like, some of them need to land in a more constrained way just because you need to be changing your cards out for a customizable card game to work. And if all Series 1 cards are still playable in the full metagame, then Second Dinner has failed as game designers, and they failed at separating our money from us. And
Dang.
Yeah.
They're not failing at separating me from my money, I promise.
Well, they are good at that, but not if they keep making Series 1 cards playable until in the end game. But large numbers, at least. All right, anyway. Card 6. Halfway through, everybody's favorite member of the Wakandan royal family, Shuri. Series 3 card. 4 cost, 2 strength. On reveal, if you play your next card here, double its power. Bootman, give us your nerf, buff, or leave alone.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I was like a boring invite for this episode because I think so many of these are fine. Like, I think Shuri's fine, right? Like, now that they brought Red Skull back, like, Shuri's one of the top decks, right? Like, it's still
Not
one of the top decks, but like,
it's
there's
the top.
Yeah. Oh, is it just sitting there? Yeah. Like, well, I've been playing so much Valkyrie lately. Like, I don't even care, right? Like, I'm just like, dude, do it. Put down your 28 power. I'll enjoy it. I'll just Valkyrie this lane. Maybe Shadow King your Taskmaster over there. But yeah, the biggest issue that we dealt with for way too long was being able to just Cosmo armor all over the place. You know what I mean? And just removing one of those makes it so much better. Like, just a lot better. So, yeah, I'm happy. Like, it is very frustrating, with the Shuri into, like, Nimrod and stuff like that. But, like I just kind of like I mentioned earlier, like, I just try to remember, like, I can't expect every deck I play against to, like, not work against me, So, I think she's good. I think we got to a good place.
Combat.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is the easiest of all the cards to decide on. She just feels perfect where she is right now. So fun card, gives you plenty of options. Like you obviously got the Red Skull or Vision or something like that. But you've also got the other options, right? Like you used to play the She-Hulk and stuff in there. I normally run Silk in my version in case I draw Shuri late, and then it's a 10 power Silk that can bounce around if they play in that lane. It's just, I feel like she's just perfect where she is right now, and they just nailed it with the
So a
changes
lot of
to
my
her.
concern for her right now comes with that they keep releasing cards that make her better. Loki pushed her back to the top of the meta. Alioth means everyone's running armor. Cool, my Shuri is better, right? Now we've got Mobius,
Yeah.
who's going to be like, ah ha ha, you can't do other things. Shuri is better. Like, I think the problem is a lot of what they're doing with the game is improving Shuri. Like, everyone's really excited about Gladiator. 3-8 reveals puts a card from your opponent's deck into play, and then if it's lower than the 8 power, it kills it. If that's Shuri, you're in heaven. And if that's in a Shuri deck, that's a Red Skull. And you just killed their 3-8, right? Like, I think that problem with Shuri is that, like, a lot of the counters to it are being pushed out by other design decisions. I don't know what the answer to that is. I think the answer for me is likely just put Red Skull back down to a 12 so that other things can compete on the power level, and then Shuri's not as, like, obnoxious, because if you can compete on the power level, then everything else, like, sort of balances itself out. But, like, if the other design decisions push out Shuri's predators and benefit, well, don't even benefit Shuri. Like, some of them benefit Shuri. I guess, like, Loki benefits Shuri, right? And Alioth benefits Shuri because that they both encourage builds that Shuri preys on. So, like, I think that either something with that design philosophy has to change, or they have to just, like, honestly, probably just lower Red Skull.
Yeah, it's weird with the Red Skull thing. Like I always feel bad for cards that get nerfed unjustly, even if I don't play them. Like I didn't play in the Shuri Red Skull meta, but like I just like it feels like 28 power is too much, but Red Skull at a 514 is fine.
No,
You know what I mean? So I don't know if they need to like top him out, like figure out a way to like max power like 20, like 24,
he's
22 or
never a
something like that. You know what I
514
mean?
except by accident, right? And and if you're Sauroning him, then a 512 is fine anyway. Right? Like a
Yeah.
514, if he's not
Yeah.
doing his ability, he's a 512 anyway. Your opponent's got one freaking card there. Right? And if he's Sauron, you don't need a 14 if he's Sauron. Like, just make him a 12. Also, he's a Nazi and shouldn't be good. Like, he should be unplayable. We shouldn't be, like, role-playing Nazis in our games.
Switches
Done.
power with Captain America's. There you go.
More thematic, too.
I think
Roy, what are we doing? What are we doing with
because
Shuri?
part of me that feels like Shuri should get rid of if you play your next card here and just be the next card you play here gets its power doubled, which I think would be interesting rather than like having to sequence Shuri into something. I know it's a huge buff. Yeah, I think if you go after Red Skull, which again, I'm a card definitely. I think in Marvel Snap, weirdly, I'm with Glazer. It is like the card that I would most want deleted. I think it's as bad as well designed as a card about the Red Skull can be, but definitely there's other Marvel villains and heroes that deserve cards before that one. Anyway, yeah, I think that's to me is like more interesting things with Shuri rather than making Shuri like a pretty linear card, which she is right now. For me, always my favorite Shuri decks to both play and play against are the ones that are not Shuri Red Skull, that are doing other things with Shuri, whether that's vision or other things. And I'd like to see more flexibility and like less like Shuri play a big thing like Red Skull and then Taskmaster. Like that's kind of like what the deck is about. I wish there was sort of like ways to design Shuri, that she was a had kind of the same ability, but was doing more interesting things. But I'm not a good enough game designer to sort of figure out how to square that circle. But that's sort of like where I am in thinking, like ways to make Shuri decks more interesting without needing to rely on the sort of Red Skull or a Tuma or whatever that you need to sort of make her good right now.
And part of me wonders, like, but it might be too big of a nerf if, like, Taskmaster copied base power only, right? Because I love the Shuri Kitty deck. Like, that's my jam. I love that deck. So that deck would be just dead, right? But, but getting 228 power things, like, that's just quite a bit. So yeah, I just don't know. I do see what Glazer's saying though, like how other cards coming out are just kind of strengthening it. So it's a weird situation, but I don't know. I like
it's
Valkyrie,
already
so
got the top
I'm fine.
play like win rate in the game right now, right? Like, and if we're making the thing with the top win rate stronger, that's generally not what we want to be doing.
Yep. I mean, look, fundamentally, Marvel Snap is a game about the numbers in lanes, and anything that doubles the numbers in your lane is always going to be powerful. And so, yeah, without a fundamental redesign, I think that this might be the best place for her to be.
Kill the Red Skull.
All about that. Let's go on to card number 7. Zabu. Oh, baby. Everybody's favorite big cat. 2 for 2. Series 4. Still a Series 4. 3K tokens. All right. Ongoing. Your 4 cost cards cost 1 less. Minimum 1. Combat. How would you fight this card? Buff, nerf.
I'd leave it exactly the same. I think it's in a good spot. Like, there's certain decks that do well, right? You've got the Dark Hawk stuff that keeps getting nerfed, and that's pretty much out here because of Zabu. But outside of that, like, it just gives you the flexibility, right? If you're nerfing this and you're looking at other cards that do similar effects with the cost reductions or Sarah stuff, Loki now, Quinjet, it's just, I don't feel like there's anything, like, the Dark Hawks fell off and it'll probably come back when Thanos gets back to climbing the meta again, but like it doesn't really do anything scary right now. Outside like the Dark Hawk package, it's just a good card that lets you play some bad 4-cost cards.
People keep running Nick Fury.
Yeah, I'm in a similar place. Like I think they got him to a good spot. And yeah, they recently nerfed Captain
Marvel.
America, so she's not going in like every. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Captain Marvel. Yeah. So she's not going in like every Zabu deck anymore. Like, yeah, like he's good. I can play two 4 costs on turn 6. I'm fine. But yeah, I haven't seen people running him that much. It's because everybody's on their little Loki kicks, But yeah, the Stature deck, Stature Darkhawk's still one of the best decks. Running it with like Silver Samurai and stuff like that, like. Yeah, I think it's just a decent card to slot into decks. I still like him a lot more than I like Silver Surfer.
So I have a suggestion for a nerf. Ready? I believe that they should print a 2/3 that completely invalidates Zabu's ability.
Hopefully, maybe one of those cards someday.
Make it 3K
so everyone can get it, and then a week after, sell it for $100. But also with 10,000 freaking credits.
That sounds good. You should contact someone.
I expect my check to be in the mail. Obviously, there are no spoilers allowed.
Wow, I didn't realize Glazer was that much of a second dinner shill here. But our comment section on the YouTube video will be very happy. But anyway, I guess I'll go through the hot take here. I think Zabu is going to be fundamentally redesigned at some point. Because
eventually,
what?
Because he restricts design space, right, of 4-cost cards, right? The more 4-cost cards you print, like eventually it's gonna break. Like, and every single 4-cost card's ceiling is lowered by Zabu. Like, it's just, I mean, it's the same way that like Silver Surfer does that for 3 drops, but doesn't reduce cost. And reducing cost is the most powerful thing to do in card games. And I am just like, I'm pretty convinced that year 3, when there's just piles and piles of 4 drops, and there's 3 other Darkhawk equivalent 4 drops, that Zabu's gonna get nerfed when the sort of your deck begins at 4 deck becomes consistent enough that it becomes even more powerful than it is right now. And just having Darkhawk as the main payoff at 4, and Zabu is still playable and still one of the best cards to draw in that deck, says just how dangerous this card is. So I think he's going to get a fundamental redesign at some point that, I don't know, is the Shauna text or whatever the Zabu family is supposed to be doing. It's like with 1-drops, right? Well, you know, like also that this card is uncongruent with the other Khazar family cards is also another thing, because at this point, the only other Khazar card that's at 4 is Khazar, right?
Well,
like, didn't
because
what's
they
her face
kept
get lowered
changing
below
Shauna.
4? Shauna, yeah. So
Yeah.
They designed Shauna poorly.
I think Kitty Cat is going to get the Nerf bat like much harder and redesign at some point. Not right away. I think Zabu's fine right now, and I think they did do a good job of fixing Zabu for the state of the current card pool. But once the 4-drop slot has even more good stuff, Second Dinner is going to get sick and tired of this card limiting the design space, and it's going to get hit hard.
Also, can we please drop this damn card to Series 3? Thanks.
No, I want my 3K tokens to have value, Glazer.
For 6 months? It's so old.
I spent 6K tokens on this.
No, you didn't. You spent $9.99. All right.
Was it a season pass card? It wasn't, wasn't it? I don't remember. All right.
Was famously a broken season pass card.
443. Series 1 on reveal. Destroy all enemy cards at this location that have 9 or more power. All right, Bootman. Do you give this card the boot? Or are you a lover of Sean here?
No, I'm gonna piss off your audience. Everybody needs to quit whining like a bunch of little babies about my boy Shang-Chi. All right? Like, oh no, I wanted to put really big things on the board and Shang-Chi blows them up. Good. I'm glad he blows up your stupid, big, dumb cards. Like, I've heard a lot of people like just like talking about this, and like when I see it, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I don't know. Like, I enjoy the strategy of games and everything like that. And like, I'm a big tech card fan, obviously. But like, I just think I don't know a better way to word it than like, it just seems like barbaric for like people who just like, I like put big numbers on board and that's it. I just put big numbers down. Let me put big number on board. And like, I just, no, there needs to be tech cards. There needs to be a way to put that in check. Like, I don't know. The game is like fun for me, like, oh, let's see, like that's why I don't play Shuri decks, like, you know what I mean? That's not why I'm not like the Shuri Red Skull fan. That's not what I do. So yeah, Shang-Chi is fine. You know what? I'll piss even more people off. Buff him, make him a 4/6. I don't give a damn. Yeah, so yeah, I'm good with Shang.
All right, Combat, were those fighting words with you, or do you agree with our man Boot?
Not to be boring and go with another one to stay the same, but yeah, Shang is fine. It's a card that's needed. You can't really get rid of the card, so you need this type of card in the game, or you just end up with whoever can slam the most numbers. It's like my most played card, so I can't.
Yeah.
I can't say he needs a nerf, but yeah, I wouldn't be mad at a 4/6. You know, give him a little bit more power, but
410,
realistically,
so he can kill
he's fine
himself.
how he is, right?
Yeah.
He's probably perfectly fine where he is. Maybe he could lose 1 power if you
I'm fine.
want to cry enough about it, but 4/3 fits into row 3 as well. You know, it's just a great card and needed. It's probably my favourite card in the game outside of Silk. Just because I love punching people and destroying their cards.
Yeah, I got the little baby variant too, where he's got that shitty little smirk on his face too, and he just
I got
blasts
the
you. I love
nunchucks
it.
because I like imagining that this idiot with nunchucks is like demigod nunchucks. But so I'm gonna go one step further than all of this. Of every game I've ever played, card game anyway, I think he is the single best design card for what the game is. And Roy knows that
Interesting.
there's an all man must die that I am putting him above, which is quite the statement. But like, I think he is the fulcrum under which this game operates that makes it work at all. And everything that makes him less important makes the game worse, and things that make him good make the game better. Like before I changed him, I'd literally delete armor. Like, it's just I think the game collapses under the weight of itself without Shang-Chi.
I mean, it's hard to argue with that, but I will just for the sake of it, because
But
I don't like that. I don't like that he kills all the 9-cost cards. Like, that's the one thing I never super loved, or 9 power, excuse me. I super loved about Shang-Chi, that he gets to kill like every big thing, right? Versus one big thing. If there was one thing that, like, if I was sitting early in the sort of design team of this card, that's what I would have changed. I think the ship has sailed on that being the design of Shang-Chi, that if you blow up Shang-Chi, you blow up Marvel Snap, because like so much of the game is balanced around that. This card, literally everyone who plays this game has this card. Like, and that's that you're sick and tired of losing to Shuri Red Skull. Well, you have to force them to play armor, and if they don't play armor, you're going to shong them. Like, that is so critical to this game, so critical that can happen to Hulk and Infinite and whatever, is so critical. So I think they've sort of, if they made any serious changes to Shang, they would have to change basically every other card. That this is just either a necessary evil to someone like me, or to Glazer a positive good. But I think no matter where you sit, this is a pillar of the game that really cannot be changed, despite the whiners that Bootman is pointing out.
But like, why is there like no conversation around like Valkyrie, right? Like, Valkyrie like does something like similar and almost more powerful because she goes under armor. You know what I mean? Like, she does like pretty much the same thing,
Infinite,
right?
Sure,
right?
she does. She'll hit Infinite. She won't hit.
She reduces every
Devil Dino.
It's Shadow King that I was thinking of. Shadow King.
Yeah, she won't hit Devil Dino, and she won't hit.
Yeah,
like,
that's a good point.
Zhang will also take care of your null, and it seems like it's probably good for us to have something to deal with null. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves, but it seems like it's probably good that there's something in the game to deal with null. Like, Shang is like a one size fits all. We just answer this bullshit. Like, it's a change I've seen suggested that I don't hate as much as everything else is making him a 5. Like, I think if he's like a 5/4, it's okay-ish. I don't know. I think that's largely a Zabu problem and not really a Shang problem, to be perfectly honest. But like, it's just, you have to reconceptualize the entire game to change him, even to make him a 5, right? Like, the whole game needs to be like reconceptualized. Everything that's good changes overnight, and like, we already see Red Skull putting up the best numbers in the game. If you make Shang slightly worse, like, we're back to that meta that like literally everyone hated.
Definitely. Back on the Valkyrie talk, I'd make Valkyrie a 4 to match Shang-Chi. I think
there we go. I like how you're talking.
She's my only Series 5 that I pulled,
then
so
unprint
I like to be able
Zabu.
to play.
Because if she's a 4 and you can play her an Absorbing Man,
sounds good to me.
You're talking my language now. I would love
I
that
feel
so
like
much.
that's probably unhealthy for most of the players of the game, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, the entire meta
It's
becomes
fun, though.
ongoings, and then we have that problem. Like, it's just, like, I love that idea. Like, you don't understand. Love that idea. I just don't think it works for the game.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to card number 9. Lucky number 9 is Jean Grey. All right, Combat, are you at war with this card, or do you choose peace in that she should get buffed or stay the same?
She definitely needs a buff. She's such a strong character, and it just feels bad to play it. I don't know what it is. Like the effect, I like the effect. It never feels like a good time to put this in. Like you never have that turn where you wanna put it in. Maybe making her a 2 so you could wave and Jean Grey on turn 5, but then that's causing another problem because then you get the Doom that's just unnerfed. Probably gets him nerfed again or something if you're doing that. Or then you got the Alioth on turn 6. Then it's just she definitely needs a buff, whether it's power or to a 2 cost.
Boot.
Yeah, no, combat just gave me an idea. I might run some Jean Grey. Yeah, she definitely needs a buff. I don't know. Like, it's such a cool ability, but like, I don't know what the solution is. I like combat's idea of just like lowering her cost. Like, that'd be cool. But the problem is, especially recently, there are just too many good low cost cards, right? Like, as long as Kitty is even half decent, like Jean's like almost useless. Right? Because you just put her there. Like, just, okay, here, take my Kitty. She'll come back and I'll put something else somewhere. And I'll do Kitty again over there and just completely play around it. And like, especially with the Silky Smooth deck, like getting popular, like I tried so many different decks because everybody's like, oh, I found the best Jean Grey deck. And like, yeah, like the Silk deck, like that runs such low cost cards. You're just not doing much, you know? So, yeah, I don't know if it needs just like a buff, like combat set, or like some kind of redesign. But I really like the effect. But there's just too many low cost cards. You know what I mean? So yeah.
If 3/5 is the stat line they say for the 3s that still have a downside, then Jean should be a 3/5. She should be a 3/5 or a 4/6. Her stats can't hurt you with her ability because her ability can still hurt you. So, like, she needs to be a 3/5 or a 4/6. I'm fine with either of those. But I think if she's a 3/5 or a 4/6, she's great. I completed Infinity, as Roy would say, with her last week as well. So, like, I don't think she's bad. I think that, like, my problem with her is that sometimes she's actively bad for you. And when she's actively bad for you, a 3/3 is terrible. So she needs some kind of stats or like a cost bump with stat. Like look, I don't almost ever want to play her on 3. I want to play her on 4. So if she's a 4/6, I'm okay playing her on 4. And if she's a 3/5, then I'm fine playing her on 4 and real happy because now I can play her in Kitty. Otherwise, I have to run Zabu. But either which way, I think she's great. Like, I think the ability is really good, really fun, really powerful, interesting. Does a lot of things I like in the game. But when playing her in a lane makes it feel like, when I'm dropping a 3/3 on turn 4, it makes it feel like I lose the game. So I need her to have stats.
I think this card is really dangerous. And if they make her too strong, she'll be obnoxious and so. I'm sure you do. But, and I just think that this card is kind of where it should be, where she's aspirationally really good and it makes you ask really interesting questions. And people like Glazer can complete an infinite run with her, but she's not like all over the place. I think is where you want to be. Cause like at the end of the day, this card is obnoxious. And the more like you see of it, the like less I would want to play Marvel Snap. If a Jean Grey deck is like a consistent thing. And it, again, I agree. One of the things I do agree with Bootman is in a Jean Grey meta, you are pushed to play a bunch of 1 and 2 and maybe 3 drops to allow you to play multiple cards a turn. And Marvel Snap doesn't need more of that. No card game needs more like push to play cheap cards. Because all card games move towards as close to 0 cost cards as they can. And you actually need incentives to play expensive cards. And Jean does not incentivize you to play against her with expensive cards. And I don't like that. Like, from an overall perspective. Even though I have fun playing Jean, because being an asshole is sometimes really fun. And I find, like, Jean into Brood and then just doing other things. is like fun for me. Like I'm locked up, but you've got to still play cards in that lane, and then I play Silver Surfer. Like I enjoy Gene Surfer decks, but is that a good thing for me? No, it's not good for anyone. So that's where I sit about with Miss Gray. Other thoughts by folks?
No, I just want to be obnoxious with Gene. That's it.
All right. Bunch of degenerates as we move into the 10th card, which is Kang the Conqueror. Bootman, you're going to give Kang a 5/0 big bad with on reveal. Look at what your opponent did, then restart the turn without Kang. Give him the boot or keep him.
God, Kang is just like a visual representation of just like depression, right? Like whenever I see this card, I think about, do you guys remember the day that Kang came out? Do you guys remember that day? People were losing their minds. People wanted Kang so bad, just Kang. And like, there was like issues with the release, remember? Some people got him, some people didn't. People were freaking out. And this card is so close to useless. But yeah, I think about this card regularly. I don't know how to buff him because like other cards we've discussed, like if this card becomes too strong, it's a big problem, you know? And like you can use it. Like when I mentioned my son got to Infinite with Galactus, he was running Kang in it too, right? It takes up a slot. And I think that's part of the issue, you know? But yeah, it needs a buff. Glazer and I were talking about earlier, I can't remember where Glenn said it, but like there's still some bugs or something, but I think it's like on their radar to buff it. I just don't know what they're going to do because this is the only card where you can't adjust much with it, right? Because it just disappears, you know? So you can't add power, reducing cost, like who cares, you know? Because you just replay the turn. So I have
care.
no
It makes
idea.
it more likely for you to get the free draw. And the more you get the free draw, the better it is.
Yeah, but like that's still like a gamble, right?
If I can run this
like on the free
and
draw?
America and give myself a reasonably often shot at a 10-card deck, we're getting close.
Yeah, possibly. So yeah, so I'm at a buff or redesign. Well, yeah, basically redesign. That's all you can do with this. So yeah,
Combat.
Yeah, definitely redesign. It was like a fun card. I remember getting it quite early on. Like, 'cause I remember everyone having issues with the shop and it not coming out. 'Cause everyone opened their shop when it was meant to come out, right? And he came out half an hour later or something. So I remember getting him quite early. Played him for a couple of days. And then the most use I got out of Kang was probably in a negative deck, using him for a draw when I took him from the top. So he's definitely a card that needs design because he's a cool Marvel character and a big bad. So he should be playable instead of just a useless card. I feel like it was the animation that kind of made me not want to play him as well because it just takes so long.
He needs a full redesign. I don't know what that full redesign is. I'm open to ideas. I don't know what the hell he should do. I keep trying to redesign him in my head, and I got nothing. Like I think he's just atrocious.
Yeah, because sometimes he's like a benefit to your opponent too, right? Like they're like, oh, whoops, I did the wrong thing anyway.
Like,
so yeah,
you know, I can totally read my opponent. No, you fucking can't. Stop it. You're guessing. You can't even see them. You're playing across a computer. Just stop it. You're guessing. That's why no one runs him because he's terrible. Like. It would be completely insane if he locked in your opponent's turn, so he can't do that. So, like, there's nothing to do. Like, it maybe if and they're not going to recode this, so they're just going to have to redesign it. If he kept like other effects you had, like if you Jubileed, he would get rid of the Jubilee, but you keep that card, like that kind of thing. And now you have to have like a bunch of extra energy to use him, right? Or like he'll disappear, but you get the card if you throw him into a lockjaw. Now he's a lockjaw card. That kind of nonsense I'd be fine with. But, like, other than that, he needs a redesign. Like, he does nothing, and nothing is not good for you.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to make any changes to Kang, you have to redesign him. So the second dinner needs to decide, I guess, whether just like having Kang be this really cool but useless card that is just like a weird design that only really a digital game could do and does actually fit Kang the Conqueror. Just have this card existing. People, weirdos who want to play it can play it. People can debate whether or not there's like minuscule value about 10 card decks. And he's just kind of sits there in people's collections, or redesign him. I don't think that there's a middle ground here with tweaks. So I think we're all in agreement that Kang needs the redesign if he's going to stick around. Let's jump to card number 11. Null. Combat. Thoughts?
A buff. I feel like Null needs a buff. Like, his effect is pretty cool. It just, I don't know what it is. It just feels bad to play Null. Right? You'd rather play anything else. If you play a Destroy deck, you're probably playing your Venom or like Venom, Deathlock, Carnage or something on Nimrod instead of playing your Null. It just feels so bad to actually get him out. I don't know what he needs, but he just needs Summit so you can pull him out. Because his effect, pretty cool, should fit in. Ideally, you should really want him in like all Destroy decks, but you never have the turn to play him, right? You'd rather play Zola or other Destroy cards or anything else other than Null. So he definitely needs a buff. I don't know what it is, but he could use a buff.
Yeah, I'll second that. Buff this man right now. So I recently got into reading comics. I'm like, I should read some of these. And it's great. I can't believe I've gone all these years without really reading comics. But anyways, like I started reading comics, the whole like Null event. I'm like 3 issues in. I'm like, how the hell is this guy not a big bad? Right? Like it is nuts. Like in like the third like issue of the event, like he's covering the entire planet in like symbiote goo, right? I'm just like, what? And he's like a 6-0. And you have to like work. Like Combat was saying, like you really ought to work for him. There's often better options. Like this, there is no reason this should even have the potential to be a dead card on 6. Like just if we're going for like flavor, like how many like they're like I hate destroy decks because I just can't destroy stuff a lot of the times. And like, sometimes I'll have like a 6-4, 6-5 Null. Like that shouldn't happen. So like, I would say a buff, like give him base power too. Like he should be way more powerful than Devil Dino. Like he can already get ridiculously huge, but you got to figure aside from like X-23 shenanigans with like Deadpool, you're only playing him on turn 6. You know what I mean? Or like, it's not like you're like duplicating your Null too often. So yeah, you could do something like that, and then maybe like Mystique, but like good. Null should be more powerful than like a Devil Dino or a Darkhawk, like all the time. Make him a 6-5.
Make him a
there
6-3.
you
go. Oh, okay.
No, 5.
He's not a big bad. So I think Null is fantastic design and fine as he is, except I think that Destroy has one problem. Destroy needs one more 2-cost enabler.
Yeah, right? Like another Carnage type card?
So the 3 real Destroy cards, because Killmonger is a Destroy card, but it's a different type of Destroy card, are Venom, Carnage, and Deathlock. And let's just say they almost had a theme going, and then they threw Deathlock in there for some reason. But, like, that's 3 cards. Like, I mean, I guess Negasonic, right? But, like, not really. Like there's other Destroy cards, but like the 3 real Destroy cards are those 3 they're a Destroy package. I think the Destroy package, and like they keep releasing benefits for destroying cards, but I still need to see one of 3 cards early. And like if you're gonna make it any good, I need to see 2 of them, and that's not enough. I need something else. Like if you're gonna have Armor and Cosmo in the game, I need one more Destroy card. So I want my buff to Null to be a new card that is a Destroy card. I'd even have, like, you want to really buff Null, you make it a like you make Null have like the ability of destroy the cards at this location, right? Yeah,
then take
like
their
it's
power
like
too.
It's like Venom on top of its regular ability. Yeah,
make it like an on reveal ongoing, one of those, right? Like on reveal.
Matter. Yeah, right.
Is it? Plus,
Yeah, okay,
plus-
sure.
plus one for
Something like that,
everyone,
right?
too.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. But like, or you just make him add a symbiote to your hand, and that symbiote is a 2/2 that destroys the other cards at this location, or whatever, some shit like that, right? And then your null is real good. I don't know. Go for it.
I think Glazer's point about more enablers is really what null needs. I think a null is a really clean design that signals like what symbiote cards are about and gives you a straightforward payoff to play a symbiote / destroy deck. So I think basically what they need to do is dig out all those stupid symbiotes from the null crossover and Maximum Carnage and Maximum Carnage 4 and all of these things and just make a few more symbiote cards, maybe another 2-drop, maybe another 3, maybe even a 4-cost like Destroy Enabler, something that like, you know, there's more consistency in the kind of things that it does so that you won't run into the situation that null will consistently be a 6/10, right? Like in most games. And at that point, I think null's fine. Like, and I don't want to give up the sort of cleanness of this design and what it signals for a lot of like weird interactions that could make null cooler when you should just print more symbiotes. And then you can just have a symbiote deck that has null, the king symbiote, at the top.
Yeah, it might have been like a big missed opportunity because he was one of the first like new cards they released, right? Like after the token shop and everything. And there's like you were just saying, Roy, there's so many different symbiotes and stuff, and like you could have made like a symbiote deck, right? Where they empower null more, like even if it was a different ability, or just keep it the same, but more symbiotes that could like enable it.
All right. Combat, do you have any final comments about null over here? Big Daddy, King in Black, whatever.
Yeah, I think everyone just got it sorted. Like, it just destroys weak, and it kind of 6-drops as well. I feel like 6-drops most 6-drops just feel kind of bad to play right now. You'd rather play a couple of 4s with Zabu down, or a couple of 3s, or a load of Loki cards, right? It's just 6-drops just feel weak, and then to play it, you need big power, which an extra destroy card
Combat
would do for null.
Boot, I know the answer for Roy. Have you guys played Final Fantasy VII?
It's my favorite. I just got the new mobile game they released.
Combat?
I haven't played it yet.
So as you're saying this, I'm just singing Alioth in my head, like in the little Sephiroth song, like Alioth. Dun, dun, dun. So that's basically what I'm going to do the entire time I'm killing things with Alioth. Like 6 costs are bad, Alioth. All right, let's talk about Combat.
We'll see whether that holds up with Glazer. All right, Combat, this is your favorite card. What do you think about this 5 for 3 Series 4 card?
3 for 5.
3 for 5. Did I say 5? 5 for... Wait.
First up, it should be a Series 3 card. I don't know why it's still up here, but I'll take a Ultimate variant when they come out, or Spotlight card variant. But yeah, I feel like she's kind of okay, but I'd take a buff. Probably an extra couple of powers, but like it doesn't really matter, right? Most of the time, if you're playing Negasonic, you're aiming to blow someone up. But more power would mean I could bring back my Phoenix Force and have my little twin warheads going again. But like she kind of does her job. It's just not very playable because of the meta, right? You just got all these little cards everywhere, and you hit some 1/2 or some 2/2 or something just pointless, and then you just wasted a turn. But so she can use a buff, but I also think it's just the meta of just playing cheap cards just makes it unplayable for most part.
Yeah. No, she needs some kind of like redesign. Like I get it, like you don't want this card to be too powerful, but like I've played a ton of Teenage Warhead. I think I played some of Combat's list. I made a video about Owl's list too, which I really love that destroy list because you're just blowing stuff up and getting Death and Null out and stuff like that. But yeah, I like the idea of like maybe her not like she only blows up cards after a certain power level. You know, like she doesn't mess around with a little like I don't blow up like an Iceman or something. Like you got to be above 4 power for me to like blow up. You know, something like that. I don't know. I would like it a lot more because, yeah, when you start buffing her, it just gets weird because even with Phoenix Force, like the concern is I'm going to bring it back Phoenix Force and then blow up another small thing. You know what I mean? So I would do some kind of redesign with her. But like, yeah, Glazer and I, we were talking about this. She's coming up in a Spotlight Cache, and I'm just hoping like what they did with Snow Guard, they're like, hey, we're going to buff this card before it's like in the spotlight.
So I have a couple ideas, I think. I think the big one is she should be able to blow up unrevealed cards. Like, if she can blow up unrevealed cards, I think she's just significantly better. The other one is I don't think anything should stop her. If she's going to blow herself up also, I think she should explode through armor and through... I'm not going to remember the name of that location, but that location that we all know. Wakanda's
Wakanda?
armor,
Cosmo?
right? Yeah, Wakanda. So I think she should blow up through those, and she should, including exploding
she
herself.
blows up through Cosmo,
She
right?
does blow up through Cosmo. She's not on
reveal.
reveal. I think she should blow up through everything because she's exploding herself, and like nothing should... Like, she's not attacking someone, she's literally exploding herself. I think it's fine thematically, and she should affect unrevealed cards. And then I think she's like actually good. Not just like, I think she's okay now. I think that makes her like really good.
I think half of that is good. I think blowing up unrevealed cards that were played simultaneous to her, like how Alioth works. I think it's like small Alioth that blows herself up. I think armor as counterplay, I think is good. I think just if you have priority, you play her and your opponent at the same turn plays a card and she just blows up and they don't get the on reveal. I think is completely fair. And it's a pretty, like, it's a risky play for you, right? If you screw it up and your opponent doesn't play their turn and they get to throw their Iceman in there and blow up your 3/5, like, I think that's a relatively interesting play pattern. Right now, she's an okay card. I think her being able to blow up unrevealed cards would make her a good card. And Alioth shows that they have the technology to do that. And I think that it should be applied to Negasonic, who has a drawback, which Alioth doesn't really, except for his power. Yeah, that's where I would go. I think having her blow up through armor is just difficult for people to understand that armor doesn't like do that. And do you want that? I don't think it's worth that.
You
I
add
think
the Jeff
just
text.
makes her, yeah. As our
yeah, nothing stops her from blowing it
Or
up.
herself,
think,
or your own card if you make a mistake, right? Like, I've definitely
much
accidentally played on Negasonic.
Glazer, our comment section for these videos shows that enough people don't understand how Jeff works that
No. They're mad that they don't have Jeff.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay.
Everyone stopped yelling at me about it suddenly this week. I don't know what it was.
All right, I wonder what. But yeah, that brings
that
us
was
to
card
the
12.
end.
I just didn't write it right. Oh well.
I fixed it for the final version. All right, let's jump into our variant of the week, our last segment of the evening. All right, we'll start with the card on the right, the Peach Momoko null variant. Which of our two gentle folks picked this variant?
Yeah, I did, I think.
All right, why'd you pick it, Combat?
I think Nill's got some of the best variants, and I just like this one. It just looks... What I did on the start of the week after playing my 20th Loki mirror, I just looked defeated. You've had enough. It's just...
Yeah.
I like that one too. Because what is a man? A miserable little pile of secrets is exactly what that one is doing. That is Dracula sitting on the throne.
Boot, why are you a man of taste and picked the Dan Hip variant?
Yeah, like I am one of those people where like Dan Hipp's very hit or miss for me. But I actually pulled this one from a variant or from a cat reserve. So many different things now. But yeah, I'm a fan of this one. I like this one. Like yeah, kind of like Combat said, he has a bunch of great variants. I just like this one that like kind of shows off his whole body and he's kind of like in a little warrior stance, like getting ready to battle. The other ones he's just like posing like, look at me, I'm a badass. This one, he's like, oh yeah, I'm about to jump in there and do some work, you know?
Yeah, I mean, for me, Null is a fundamentally stupid and over the top character, and all of these Sephiroth, like sad boy, like I have deep feelings. It's like you are the king of these symbiotes. You are '90s wrought into us in 2020 or 2021, whenever they released that stupid event. Like Null captures like the combination of like goofy threat that Null should be versus like again sad Sephiroth. I love Peach Momoko art. This is really awesome. But if you just erase that, why does he have the spider symbol? By the way, the Null. Like anyway, I have a lot of like Null feedback to give Marvel. Anyway, but like, why is this like sad Sephiroth over here representing the character? For me, there's like fun and energy to this Dan Hipp art that is, I think, more true to what the character should be rather than what he could be. And sort of that's why I picked him. Also, I'll almost always pick Dan Hipp art anyway. But all right, that brings us to the end of our show. As we say goodbye to our friends, as always, we give them an opportunity to sell their content to you once more. Combat. Buddy, if our loyal listeners should, again, become your loyal viewers, what would they find if they tuned into your content?
I post daily deck videos. Every day there's a video of a brand new deck. Try and mix it up every day with different types of deck without trying to copy decks. I always put my own little twist on any deck that I find, and there's always a deck up, plenty of shorts, plenty of content. Always open to give you suggestions in the comments if you don't have any cards, because the amount of comments I get about I play too much Jeff.
We all get those comments. It's fine.
So, I've got that on copy and paste.
They're better than how do I replace Jeff. You can yell at me for Jeff. Just don't ask me how to replace him. It's fine.
I think that the how to replace Jeff comments are a good faith engagement with your and our content, Glazer. And if you specifically, I'm asking you, loyal listeners and viewers, go into every one of Glazer's videos that have Jeff. And if you do not have Jeff, leave a good faith comment asking for a replacement. Please do that. That is my.
So I'm now getting request. A bunch of comments because I complained about it on our Discord. Because every time I post the stats for a deck, I explain exactly where those stats came from in the video. Like, I'm not like, it's not a secret. I'm like, these are the stats of this person playing the deck at this rank at this time. And then, like, I get like 6 comments every video that, where are those stats from? Deck's not that win rate, bro. And I'm just like, but I did explain. So now that I complained about that, the Marvel Snap Zone Discord goes into my comments to go, where'd the stats come from? Where's the stats every day? We're just like, motherfuckers. All right. Either which way, I want to talk about combat, and I want to sell you on one particular video combat does, because like 4 people do this video, and combats is the best every single week. Combat does the meta report, top 10 decks in Snap, and it's like, I like no disrespect to KM and Alex and so on who do it. Combats is better, largely I think because he plays so competitively. It's not like cookie cutter, and it's always super insightful, and like the decks are completely like the exact meta version, not like my opinion of the meta version, the meta version, and they're explained insightfully and carefully. Like all of his content's really good. I watch all of it. That's my favorite thing because I watch all of the top 10 thingy-majigs. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just a sucker for lists, but Combats is by far my favorite. It comes out every Sunday, I believe, and you should absolutely check
every Sunday, yeah.
Awesome. You all should definitely go check out Combat's content. We really appreciate him being on. That brings us
at 3 in the morning.
At 3 in the morning, yes, doubly late. That brings us to, of course, Bootman, our OG special guest, reclaiming his crown. Yeti is going to have to mail it back to him after we shipped it out to him. We are so happy that you are going to join us. But if for some reason, again, if you are a Snap Judgments listener or viewer and you are not watching Bootman's content, what would folks find if they went and watched you?
No, I'm just gonna say go watch Combat, because I agree. Combat always has like such like cool and interesting lists, and he's just like dialed in. And yeah, like I'm a big proponent of like, hey, go look and find other lists, because smaller creators do get drowned out, right? Because like when the popular creators put out lists, you just see them everywhere, and like you guys got to be like looking around. So once Combat blows up, his decks will be oversaturated. I'll have to find somebody new. But if you do want to find me, it's just Bootman MSTZ on YouTube, Twitter, all that stuff. Brad Safer and I, we do the Snap on Ego podcast as well. Comes out bi-weekly. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Glazer?
I'm not going to talk about Bootman's content. I'm going to talk about Bootman for a second and what he's meant to our content. So this podcast is not Marvel Snap Zone without Bootman. I don't even know if we'd still be doing it without Bootman, to be perfectly honest, if he didn't come on when he did as we were first growing. I certainly wouldn't be doing daily videos without his encouragement. I'd still be doing absolutely atrocious thumbnails that no one would watch the videos without his help. Like, every bit of success I've had, I can in some way trace back to Bootman. And I couldn't be more grateful. If you're following me and not following him, like you 1,000% should be, because the content is great. But B, like I would literally rather you unsub for me and follow him than just sub me. I've got nothing but gratitude for the sheer amount he's done for us for literally nothing. Right? Like we've now like outstripped. I mean, fundamentally, without trying to be a jerk, nope, because I love these people. Like, they're my friends. I talk to them every day. Like, I think we've outstripped almost every other, like, small creator at this point. And, like, so much of that is thanks to Bootman's help and support. So, can't thank him enough. Go follow him.
Happy to help.
Well, on that definitely humble brag moment of Aaron Glazer, I want to thank our special guest for joining us. Combat, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Bootman, thanks once again for coming on and reclaiming your crown.
Always
All right,
a
I
pleasure.
want to remind folks real quick what our socials are. We are at Snap Judge Cast on Twitter/X. We are on the Marvel Snap Discord, the best large Discord in Marvel Snap. Subscribe to it, join it, whatever the Discord word is, from the link in the description of this episode. Our email is snapjudgmentspodcast@gmail.com. We are on Mastodon at snapjudgments with an E at tabletop.vip. And we are, of course, on that YouTube that Glazer just bragged about at Snap Judgments Pod. And speaking of bragging, Glazer, I want to thank you once again for joining us and being I get to brag that you are my longtime friend. Thank you so much for doing this episode with me yet again.
Sigh, peace and love, everybody.
All right, folks. Stay safe, make good choices, and keep on snapping.